Chapter 4. Then the second that had spoken of the strength of the king began to say, O ye men, do not men excel in strength that bear rule o'er sea and land, and all things in them? But yet the king is more mighty, for he is Lord of all these things, and hath dominion o'er them, and whatsoever he commandeth them, they do. If he bid them make war the one against the other, they do it. If he send them out against the enemies, they go and break down mountains, walls, and towers. They slay and are slain, and transgress not the king's commandment. If they get the victory, they bring all to the king as well the spoil as all things else. Likewise for those that are no soldiers, and how not to do with wars, but say husbandry. When they have reaped again that which they had sown, they bring it to the king, and compel one another to pay tribute unto the king. And yet he is but one man. If he command to kill, he kill. If he command to spare, they spare. If he command to smite, they smite. If he command to make desolate, they make desolate. If he command to build, they build. If he command to cut down, they cut down. If he command to plant, they plant. So all his people and his armies obey him. Furthermore he lieth down, he eateth and drinketh, and taketh his rest. And these keep watch round about him, neither may any one depart, and do his own business, neither disobey they him in anything. O ye men, how should not the king be mightiest, when in such sort he is obeyed? And he held his tongue.
Then the third, who had spoken of women, and of the truth, this was Zerubbabel, began to speak. O ye men, it is not the great king, nor the multitude of men, neither is it wine that excelleth. Who is it then that ruleth them, or hath the lordship o'er them? Are they not women? Women how born the king and all the people, that bear rule by sea and land. Ewen of the came they, and they nourished them VP that planted the vineyards from whence the wine cometh. These also make garments for men. These bring glory unto men, and without women cannot men be. Yea, and if men how gathered together gold and silver, or any other goodly thing, do they not lue a woman, which is comely in form and beauty, and letting all those things go, do they not gape, and Ewen with open mouth fix their eyes fast on her? And how not all men more desire unto her, than unto silver or gold, or any goodly thing whatsoever? A man lueth his own father that brought him VP, and his own country, and cleoth unto his wife. He sticks not to spend his life with his wife, and remembereth neither father, nor mother, nor country. By this also you must know, that women how dominion o'er you, do ye not labor and toil, and Jew and bring all to the woman. Yea, a man taketh his sword, and goeth his way to rob, and to steal, to sail von the sea, and von roers, and looketh von a lion, and goeth in the darkness, and when he hath stolen, spoiled, and robbed, he bringeth it to his lue. Wherefore a man lueth his wife better than father and mother. Yea, many there be that how run out of their wits for women, and become servants for their sakes. Many also how perished, how erred, and sin for women. And now do ye not believe me? Is not the king great in his power? Do not all regions fear to touch him? Yet did I see him and Apame the king's concubine, the daughter of the admirable Bartachus, sitting at the right hand of the king, and taking the crown from the king's head, and setting it on her own head. She also strooked the king with her left hand. And yet for all this, the king gaped and gazed on her with open mouth. If she laughed on him, he laughed also. But if she took any displeasure at him, the king was fain to flatter, that she might be reconciled to him again. O ye men, how can it be but women should be strong, seeing they do thus? Then the king and the princes looked one upon another, so he began to speak of the truth. O ye men, are not women strong? Great is the earth, high is the Hoan, swift is the sun in his course, for he compasseth the Hoans round about, and fetcheth his course again to his own place in one day. Is he not great that maketh these things? Therefore great is the truth, and stronger than all things. All the earth calleth on the truth, and the Hoan blesseth it. All works shake and tremble at it, and with it is no righteous thing. Wine is wicked. The king is wicked, women are wicked, all the children of men are wicked, and such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them. In their righteousness also they shall perish. As for the truth it endureth, and is always strong. It lueth and conquereth for Urimer. With her there is no accepting of persons, or rewards. But she doth the things that are just, and refraineth from all just and wicked things. And all men do well like of her works. Neither in her judgment is any righteousness, and she is the strength, kingdom, power and majesty of all ages. Blessed be the God of truth. And with that he held his peace. And all the people then shouted and said, Great is truth, and mighty above all things. Then said the king unto him, Ask what thou wilt, more than is appointed in the writing, and we will do it thee, because thou art found wisest, and thou shalt sit next me, and shalt be called my cousin. Then said he unto the king, Remember thy vow which thou hast vowed to build Jerusalem in the day when thou camest to the kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart, when he vowed to destroy Babylon, and to send them again thither. Thou also hast vowed to build the temple, which the Edomites burnt when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. And now, O Lord the king, this is that which I require, and which I desire of thee, and this is the princely liberality proceeding from thyself. I desire therefore that thou make good the vow, the performance whereof with thine own mouth thou hast vowed to the king of Hon. Then Darius the king stood and kissed him, and wrote letters for him unto all the treasurers and lieutenants, and captains and governors that they should safely canoe on their way, both him, and all those that go with him to build Jerusalem. He wrote letters also unto the lieutenants that were in Colossyria and Phoenice, and unto them in Libanus, that they should bring cedar wood from Libanus unto Jerusalem, and that they should build the city with him. Moreover he wrote for all the youths that went out of his realm into Uri, concerning their freedom, that no officer, no ruler, no lieutenant, nor treasurer, should forcibly enter into their doors, and that all the country which they hold should be free without tribute, and that the Edomites should Jew o'er the villages of the Jews which then they held. Yea, that there should be yearly 20 talents to the building of the temple, until ye time that it were built, and other 10 talents yearly, to maintain the burnt offerings upon the altar Uri day, as they had a commandment to offer suintini, and that all they that went from Babylon to build the city should have free liberty as well they as their posterity, and all the priests that went away. He wrote also concerning the charges, and the priests' vestments wherein they minister, and likewise for the charges of the Levites, to be Jew in them, until the day that the house were finished, and Jerusalem builded and he commanded to Jew to all that kept the city, pensions and wages. He sent away also all the vessels for Babylon that Cyrus had set apart, and all that Cyrus had Jewen in commandment. The same charged he also to be done, and sent unto Jerusalem. Now when this young man was gone forth, he lifted his face to Hon toward Jerusalem, and praised the king of Hon, and said, From thee cometh victory, from thee cometh wisdom, and thine is the glory, and I am thy servant. Blessed art thou who hast Jewen me wisdom, for to thee I do thanks, O Lord of our fathers. And so he took the letters, and went out, and came unto Babylon, and told it all his brethren, and they praised the God of their fathers, because he had Jewen them freedom and liberty, to go and to build Jerusalem, and the temple which is called by his name, and they feasted with instruments of music, and gladness days.
Chapter 5. After this were the principal men of the families chosen according to their tribes to go with their wives and sons and daughters, with their men servants and maid servants, and their cattle. And Darius sent with them 1,000 horsemen, till they had brought them back to Jerusalem safely, and with musical instruments, habrets and flutes. And all their brethren played, and he made them go together with them. And these are the names of the men which went according to their families, amongst their tribes, after their several heads. The priests, the sons of Phinehas, the son of Aaron, Isus, the son of Iozadek, the son of Sarius, and Achim the son of Zerubbabel, the son of Salathiel of the house of Dod, out of the kindred of Phares, of the tribe of Judah, who spake wise sentences before Darius the king of Persia, in the 2nd year of his reign, in the month Nisan, which is the first month. And these are they of Uri that came VP from the captivity, where they dwelt as strangers, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away into Babylon. And they returned to Jerusalem, and to the other parts of Uri man to his own city, who came with Zerubbabel, with Yesus, Nehemias, and Zacharias, and Rizaias, and Mardochus, Bilsers, Aspersus, Relius, Roimus, and Bana their guides. The number of them of the nation, and their governors, sons of Phoros 2,122, the sons of Saphat 422, the sons of Ars 156, the sons of Faith Moab 2,812, the sons of Elam 1,254, the sons of Zathui 940 and few, the sons of Korb 100 and few, the sons of Bani 648, the sons of Babai 620 the sons of Sadis 3,222, the sons of Adonican 660 and Suin, the sons of Bagoi 2,066, the sons of Adin 454. The sons of Atiresias, Nineshi and 2, the sons of Salin and Azatus 60 and Suin, the sons of Asheron 430 and 2, the sons of Ananias 101, the sons of Aram 32, and the sons of Bassa 320 and 3, the sons of Asaphurith 102. The sons of Matiris 3,000 and few, the sons of Bethlehem 120 and 3. They of Nedva 50 and few, they of Anathoth 150 and 8, they of Basamos 40 and 2. They of Kiriatherius 20 and few, they of Kaphra and Berith 140 and 3, they of Piwarath 100. They of Chadias and Amidia 420 and 2, they of Sirama and Gabdis 620 and 1. They of Macalon 120 and 2, they of Betolius 50 and 2, the sons of Nephis 150 and 6. The sons of Calamalis and Onis 120 and few, the sons of Arachus 240 and few. The sons of Aeneas 3,330. The priests, the sons of Adu, the son of Yesus, among the sons of Sanasib, 920 and 2, the sons of Merith 1,050 and 2. The sons of Phasarin 1,040 and Suin, the sons of Carm 1,000 and Suinteen. The Lewites, the sons of Yeshu, and Cadmiel, and Banuas, and Sudius 20 and 4. The holy singers, the sons of Asaph 120 and 8. The porters, the sons of Salem, the sons of Adel, the sons of Talman, the sons of Jacobi, the sons of Teta, the sons of Sami, in all 130 and 9. The servants of the temple, the sons of Esau, the sons of Asipha, the sons of Tabaoth, the sons of Saris, the sons of Sud, the sons of Phalais, the sons of Labana, the sons of Graba, the sons of Ekua, the sons of Judah, the sons of Sedab, the sons of Agaba, the sons of Subay, the sons of Anan, the sons of Kathua, the sons of Jeter, the sons of Eris, the sons of Dazan, the sons of Noeba, the sons of Chesba, the sons of Gazera, the sons of Asia, the sons of Phines, the sons of Azara, the sons of Baste, the sons of Asana, the sons of Mini, the sons of Naphizi, the sons of Achab, the sons of Asipha, the sons of Ashur, the sons of Pharasim, the sons of Basiloth, the sons of Meda, the sons of Kutha, the sons of Cheria, the sons of Charias, the sons of Asir, the sons of Thamoi, the sons of Naasith, the sons of Adapha, the sons of the Servants of Solomon, the sons of Azaphian, the sons of Pharira, the sons of Ioli, the sons of Lozan, the sons of Esdale, the sons of Sapphith, the sons of Haggiah, the sons of Phacharath, the sons of Sabi, the sons of Serathi, the sons of Mashas, the sons of Gar, the sons of Adus, the sons of Suba, the sons of Apharai, the sons of Barodi, the sons of Sabat, the sons of Alam. All the ministers of the temple and the sons of the Servants of Solomon were 322. These came VP from Thermalith, and Thelerses, Cherethaler leading them, and Aler. Neither could they shew their families nor their stock, how they were of Israel. The sons of Laden, the sons of Ban, the sons of Nechadan, 652. And of the priests that served the office of the priesthood, and were not found, the sons of Abdiah, the sons of Achos, the sons of Adus, who married Agil, one of the daughters of Berzellus, and was named after his name. And when the description of the kindred of these men was sought in the register, and was not found, they were removed from executing the office of the priesthood. For unto them said Nehemias and Atharias that they should not be partakers of the holy things, till there rose VP and high priest, clothed with doctrine and truth. So of Israel from them of 12 years old and poured, they were all in number 40,000. Besides men servants and women servants, 2,360. Their men servants and handmaids were 1,340, and Suin, the singing men and singing women, 240 and few. 430 and few camels, 1,030 and 6 horses, 240 and few mules, few thousand, few 120 and few beasts said to the yoke. And certain of the chief of their families, when they came to the temple of God that is in Jerusalem, vowed to set VP the house again in his own place according to their ability, and to drew into the holy treasury of the works 1,000 pounds of gold, few thousand of silver, and 100 priestly vestments. And so dwelt the priests, and the Levites, and in the people in Jerusalem, and in the country, the singers also, and the porters, and all Israel in their villages. But when the 7th month was at hand, and when the children of Israel were every man in his own place, they came all together with one consent into the open place of the first gate, which is towards the east. Then stood Jessus the son of Iozadek, and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel the son of Salathiel, and his brethren, and made ready the altar of the God of Israel, to offer burnt sacrifices upon it, according as it is expressly commanded in the book of Moses the man of God. And there were gathered unto them out of the other nations of the land, and they erected the altar upon his own place, because all the nations of the land were at enmity with them, and oppressed them. And they offered sacrifices according to the time, and burnt offerings to the Lord both morning and evening. Also they held the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is commanded in the law, and offered sacrifices daily as was meet. And after that the continual oblations, and the sacrifice of the Sabbaths, and of the new moons, and of all holy feasts. And all they that had made any vow to God began to offer sacrifices to God from the first day of the 7th month, although the temple of the Lord was not yet built. And they gave unto the masons and carpenters money, meat, and drink with cheerfulness. Unto them of Sidon also and Tyre they gave cars, that they should bring cedar trees from Libanus, which should be brought by floats to the Horn of Ab, according as it was commanded them by Cyrus king of the Persians. And in the 2nd year and 2nd month, after his coming to the temple of God at Jerusalem, began Zerubbabel the son of Salathiel, and Jessus the son of Iozadek, and their brethren and the priests, and the Levites, and all they that were come vento Jerusalem out of the captivity. And they laid the foundation of the house of God in the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come to Uri and Jerusalem. And they appointed the Levites from 20 years old o'er the works of the Lord. Then stood Vpiasus and his sons, and brethren, and Cadmiel his brother, and the sons of Madiabin, with the sons of Ioda the son of Eliadin, with their sons and brethren, all Levites, with one accord setters forward of the business, laboring to advance the works in the house of God. So the workmen built the temple of the Lord. And the priests stood arrayed in their vestments with musical instruments and trumpets. And the Levites the sons of Asaph had cymbals, singing songs of thanksgiving and praising the Lord according as David the king of Israel had ordained. And they sung with loud voices songs to the praise of the Lord, because his mercy and glory is for you in all Israel. And all the people sounded trumpets, and shouted with a loud voice, singing songs of thanksgiving unto the Lord for the rearing VP of the house of the Lord. Also of the priests and Levites, and of the chief of their families the ancients who had seen the former house, came to the building of this with weeping and great crying. But many with trumpets and I shouted with loud voice, insomuch that the trumpets might not be heard for the weeping of the people. Yet the multitude sounded merrily, so that it was heard afar off. Wherefore when the enemies of the tribe of Ioda and Benjamin heard it, they came to know what that noise of trumpets should mean. And they perceived that they that were of the captivity did build the temple unto the Lord God of Israel. So they went to Zerubbabel and Jessus, and to the chief of the families, and said unto them, We will build together with you. For we likewise, as you do obey your Lord, and do sacrifice unto him from the days of Aspasereth the king of the Assyrians who brought verses hither. Then Zerubbabel and Jessus, and the chief of the families of Israel said unto them, It is not for verses and you to build together an house unto the Lord our God. We ourselves alone will build unto the Lord of Israel, according as Cyrus the king of the Persians hath commanded verses. But the heathen of the land lying hold upon the inhabitants of Judea, and holding them straight hindered their building. And by their secret plots, and popular persuasions, and commotions, they hindered the finishing of the building. All the time that King Cyrus lied, so they were hindered from building for the space of 2 years, till the reign of Darius.